Oh, okay, so just finished playing up and I don't know quite how to express it. Hero Weehawken. It's a victory point game. Victory point games are kind of an interesting little gotta refresh that little almost minimalist games, if you like. For something, in a lot of cases, they're war games. This obviously is not. It's, well, very light war games from what I can tell, but I haven't played any except one States of Siege game on the English Revolution, I think. Well, the English Civil War, not the Revolution. The first thing that struck me with all of these was always, gee, the components, you know. You got something like this. The cards are fairly decent quality. I mean, they're fairly sturdy. It's not like you're cutting a piece of paper here. But really, you've got what almost looks like a print and play game, or a cheap-ass game in terms of quality, although there's color in it. They're very cleverly designed, there's no question of that, and there's significant design effort put into getting something like this deck of cards to work right and provide a significant challenge. And this is not an easy game. I've played it twice. The first time I got hosed completely, and this time I felt like I was winning until I lost. It was certainly getting close, and I knew the risk that was happening. That's the thing. It can be a tense, and it's not. None of these games are pushovers. You have to play them kind of about as well as you can, and still luck can crush you very, very easily. On the other hand, in this one, I think I got fairly lucky. I don't think I played all that well necessarily. But the components are definitely an issue. The counters aren't too bad beyond one factor. And especially with something with hidden counters, it kind of worried me. They had, and I didn't get it from a counter sheet or whatever, so I can't really tell you, but they had a little bit of edge on them. Now, after clipping them, they're fine. A little bit of trimming, a little bit more work than normal clipping counters, and they're fairly good quality. I mean, they're thick enough. It's just they weren't, you know, the industrial perfection of, say, you know, your GMT counters or whatever. Now, from what I understand, that's changing. The Victory Point just picked up their own die cutting machine, so that should not be an aspect in the future. But for some of their older games and current releases, even, it's going to be an issue for a while. These look like they're almost hand assembled and glued together. It really looks like a print and play, high quality one, but not something that was done by a real, you know, by an established company. Now, the other aspect for me, of course, was the replayability, and I think for a solitaire game of this length, it's perfectly fine. It probably isn't as replayable as, say, B-17 is, but some of the scenario, some of the Victory Points solitaire games probably are. Mainly they're going with these very small games that are targeting an audience that really wants, you know, something that gives them that feel, has interesting decisions to make, a lot of interesting decisions to make maybe, but not overwhelming you with the big board and the big pieces. The problem that I have is the cost for what I'm getting. In this case, I bought it used. I could have gotten it new for about the same, about 20 bucks. When you look on their site, most of their games, if you're buying, especially the a new release or something, run around 30. That's a lot for what feels like a magazine or print and play quality game. And I would say this one with its cards and everything isn't it magazine quality. I wouldn't be upset in a magazine game to have a small board if I got a deck of cards with it. Magazine games, of course, have gotten much, much more expensive than back when I was a lad. You know, I remember my S&Ts running about the same as any other magazine. In fact, it impressed me, not the newsstand price, but the subscription price was about the same as Omni. And while Omni was a very good magazine, you know, nowadays I would say you should still be seeing these magazine games if they were being published in the same quantity. Probably under $10, no? And that's not the case. You know, they run 20 to 25 bucks usually. So this is in that same spot. What's negative for it for me? Well, a few things. One, I'm not a fan of solitaire games. Why did I buy a solitaire game? Well, I played it. I thought it was cool. And the one way I do like playing solitaire games is exactly how I was introduced to this, which was sitting there with someone else who knows the game guiding me through it. And I had Alan Kemrich show me this game. And he's a wonderful guy to have do this. But I think their entire staff really is. They went into the convention and they show you their new releases this way. And it was just really a great way to get a feel. I played 2 of their games, quick games, great experience to do it that way. I would say even if you're not looking at buying them, it might be worth stopping and playing one of them. Actually, that's kind of the position I was in when I ended up buying one eventually, because I do think they're interesting games, and I do think they're an interesting category that I wanted to look at a little bit. Make sure that my feelings are right. I don't think I'm going to be buying a lot of these, although I may try it. I know that some of the Levers of Power series, which I don't think's been released yet, really, really intrigued me, especially the Bismarck unification of Germany one. I'll probably end up springing for that. But that's kind of the thing. You know, there are these little mechanical aspects. This one not so much, although there's still a lot of mechanics going on. But there are these little mechanical puzzles where you're trying to figure out how to optimize your situation at any given point. And the thought involved in it probably is no more than, say, what you would be facing when you open up, say, I don't know, one of the old Great Battles in the American Civil War series from SPI out of the magazines. But the difference is, this is a 40-minute game, and those would be 4, 5, 6 hours maybe. So that's kind of the payoff for me, is I'm not getting, for one playing, a lot out of it. Now, for some people, this is the absolute perfect thing. They don't have a lot of time to set up, or space to set up a game. I mean, this is something you could bring with you on a business trip or something, and play during a lunch hour, whatever you want to do. These are nice little things that maybe are far more accessible to gamers who don't want the larger experience that, you know, is from my youth and probably theirs as well. For me, it doesn't work that way. I really do want that larger experience. Especially, you know, something like this, I don't mind paying a small amount for, but I don't want to pay the same that I would pay for that bigger experience. Quite honestly, these guys keep their value used, which is one of my other negative points about them. You know, I mean, I can buy something that'll be a full, decent-sized war game used for about what I paid for this, and something that'll keep me going for a week, whereas this was, for me, about the same size as a Euro, which I'll usually, for the lighter Euros that only take a half hour or so, I'm willing to spring 5, maybe 10 bucks for if the theme really excites me. And this did. In fact, I had played it and I knew what it was, so I have no gripes there. I did actually want it, in part to do this review, but also because it is such an exciting theme as it comes, or topic, or however you want to put it. Incidentally, the reason he's called the hero of Weehawken, Weehawken's where his duel with Hamilton was, and although it destroyed his political future, unless he threw a coup, many of the Democrats saw killing Hamilton as such a good thing for the party as a whole to end that, essentially great mind of the Federalist side, who had had a huge effect on the founding of our institutions and the initial movement of them. Well, again, I can't say I'm disappointed. I knew what I was getting, and I did still want it, and I still am happy to have it. I think I'll enjoy it most playing it with, say, my girlfriend, to like set it up and watch her experience the story through it, as opposed to playing it myself solitaire, which I'm just not a big solo player in terms of designed for solo games. I think it's an interesting mechanism for it. There's a lot of solo games that feel a lot worse than this does. I've also played one of the States of Siege games, like I said. I felt a little bit less excited about that, although I think maybe that's more interesting to a lot of gamers because you're just tracking things on a track. It's more like a B-17 type game rather than this very, very random drawing lots of cards. Still, both designs gave you a lot of opportunity to make real choices as to where you want to head with, your plan moving forward for the game. And in this one, sure, the randomness definitely interferes with your plan, just like bad luck on a roll when you're trying to do a siege or something like that, or trying to, fight a battle. Because there's very limited activity in the States of Siege games too. It's these little turns with, maybe a couple big choices in them. And not much else. Not a lot of mechanical stuff that's going on. So in this, the mechanical stuff, it's turning a card over. One issue that I do have with this one especially, it is hard to remember everything. For something this light, but maybe that's necessary for this kind of type design, I found myself forgetting some key rules very easily. Just because, maybe because of the camera. Because, if I didn't have the camera, I'd be a lot more willing to sit down and look at the rules again and say, what am I supposed to do now? But I didn't feel like I could pause there. In the same way that I don't feel like I can pause when I'm playing opposed games as much. I don't want to take that break away because I'm having this social experience with you, my friend, the camera. Alright, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see what's up. And one crappy thing, nothing to do with this game. My Urban Sprawl video, somebody did an unboxing. I could have had mine up like 3 days ago if damn YouTube wasn't shafting me. But anyway, maybe it was shafting him too, although that's not what he says.